Alright, let's get started. Gonna go ahead and turn my text off before I forget. Hello! Welcome to the stream. If you're coming over from the very kind recommendation of Super Blind Man, welcome to my channel. I stream mostly strategy games. This is Crusader Kings 2. I suppose I should introduce myself first. I'm Cello E, which I chose to spell CEL10E, the worst username on the internet. And so this is Crusader Kings 2. It is a grand strategy role-playing game, historical role-playing game from Paradox Interactive, who also make Europa Universalis and Stellaris and City Skylines and a bunch of other management and strategy type games. This is a game that takes place during the medieval period, from about 750 AD to about 1450 AD. And in it, there's not really a way to win the game. There's not really a set goal. Basically, you pick a time, you pick a place, you pick a person, and you play as that person and their lineage for however long you can hold power, and see what sort of hijinks you can get up to. So this is going to be a new stream series. I am going to attempt to do full audio description. Please leave any feedback or recommendations that you have. I really appreciate it. I also have... Ooh, I need to get my closed captioning started. I apologize for not having that running yet. Let's see if this starts working. Yep, alright, we have closed captioning on. Again, really sorry that I forgot to turn that on when I started speaking. So this is Crusader Kings 2. It did not... The closed captions did not like that name. So I'm starting a new series. This is going to have audio description, like I said. We're starting a historical start. I'm going to go ahead and click New Game here on the main menu. And what we have is a list of the starting dates that we can choose from. From 769 AD, the early Middle Ages, through the Viking Age, 867, the Iron Century, 936, the High Middle Ages, 1066, and the Late Middle Ages, 1337. I'm going to go ahead and pick the Early Middle Ages. This is going to be a very early start for the game, and I'll read the little blurb here. The early Middle Ages started with the fall of the Western Roman Empire in the early 5th century. The earlier part of this era saw the great Germanic and Slavic migrations across Europe, with people such as the Goths and Lombards settling in southern Europe, the Franks settling in Gaul, and Saxons crossing the sea and settling in Britain. The Eastern Roman Empire was violently shaken by pressure from the Goths and Avars, and fought bitterly with their ancient Persian enemy. The rise of Islam saw the Arabs conquering immense amounts of territory in the Middle East and North Africa, and in India, several great dynasties vied for dominance, with the Rashtrakutas rising toward the end of the 8th century. In the steppes, the Khazars grew in power, and in Scandinavia, things were about to change in a way that was to affect the entire continent. So there are a few suggested individuals to play. Charlemagne is maybe the standout ruler in this era. It was the DLC based entirely around Charlemagne that this start date actually was unlocked by. So we have Charlemagne of the Franks. We have his brother Carloman, who currently rules Germany, although historically Carloman dies by assassination, leaving Charlemagne with all of Western Europe to create the Holy Roman Empire. We have Desiderius of the Lombards, which is the Germanic kingdom in Italy. We have Abd al-Rahman, who I believe, is of the Umayyad dynasty, controlling most of southern Spain. We have al-Mansur of the Abbasid Caliphate. I think it's the Caliphate, at least the Abbasid Empire, which controls all of Arabia, some of Egypt, and then we have Krishna I of the Rashtrakuta dynasty in India. I don't want to play any of these rulers, so I'm going to click through this screen to custom game setup. And here we have the entire map of the world has opened up to us. So what we're seeing is a view from above, as if we're looking at a map on a table of all of Europe. And if I zoom out, we have the northern half of Africa, we have the Middle East, all the way over to India, Tibet, and Mongolia. So the map on the eastern border cuts off right before China. In the north, we have all the way up to Siberia, Russia, Scandinavia, and the British Isles, and Iceland. And obviously we don't have the New World in this game, so we don't get to play any Native Americans, unfortunately. Right now we have a sort of satellite green, white, because this is the winter. This is the 1st of January, 769. I'm going to change it to the Realms map, which colors it in like it's a political map, with every individual country in a different color. Now what I'm going to be looking for here, the ruler that I want to play is a member of the Ashina dynasty, which historically was an incredibly powerful nomadic tribe that ruled the steppe region from the area north of Iran all the way east to China and north of Korea. The Ashina clan basically controlled that entire area from about the 5th to 6th centuries. And at this point in history, 769, they're quite weak in power, but you can still find them. So I'm going to try and remember where they are on the map. I'm going to zoom in here. We have in the Eastern Europe region where we're going to be, we have the Byzantine Empire, the Eastern Roman Empire, as it is sometimes called, or, because I am playing with cultural names on, the Basileia Romaion, covering Greece and Turkey. We have Bulgaria, which is at this time, I believe, they're pagan but settled. North of Bulgaria we have Avaria, where Hungary currently is, also pagan. We have the Magyar nomads to the east there, sort of in the Crimea region. That is the culture that would eventually migrate west into the area we now think of as Hungary and settle down there. We have the extremely large clan of Khazaria, that's nomadic. And clicking on them here, I do see that that is in fact the Ashina dynasty that I was looking for. I couldn't remember if they were in power in Khazaria or subjugated by them. So Khazaria, that's Khazaria, stretches from right north of the Black Sea, north of Turkey, east past the Caspian Sea, and they are, as well as controlling all of that territory, they are also sovereign, extorting tribute from several of the other nomadic clans around them. So they're in quite a powerful position at the start of this game. So our starting character will be Kagan, that's the name for a nomadic ruler. Bagatur, Baghatur, of House Ashina. Their crest, it looks like, is a black bear with its mouth open, facing to the left, and its tongue is sticking out. So the head of this bear facing left, mouth open, tongue out, on a yellow background. Bagatur himself looks to be about, well, I can see by the tooltip here, he's 53 years old. He's wearing a fur-lined hat, so we can't really see his hair, but he's got this gray fur hat on. He's got thin eyebrows, narrow eyes, and some gray stubble around his chin. He's wearing some sort of yellow cloak over a white embroidered shirt. He is of the Khazar culture, which is in the Altaic group. Altaic covers most cultures that we would consider to be Turkish or the area north of Turkey. And they are of the Tengri pagan religion. That is the predominant religion in the nomadic steppe. If I click on the religion map mode here, we can see that the blue color, which is Tengri, has quite a lot of influence in this area and farther to the east along the steppe. So that's our culture and religion situation. We can see that the game has rated this start as easy, which is good to know. And we have 3 vassal clans that serve us. We have Khan Menumerot of Yabgumak. We have Khan Simsam of Bukhal. And we have Khan Sartash of Karadaku. I apologize for my pronunciations. They are 38 years old, 52 years old, and 36 years old. One of them, I've just found out on the tooltip, is my uncle. So I don't know if that's through marriage somehow, because he's not part of my clan, but somehow he's my uncle. So that's interesting to know. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and click play here, and then we will see a bunch of rules that we have to set before we can actually get started with the game. We have to set how things are going to be in the world. I do have a preset that I'm just going to turn on to avoid going through everything. Some of the highlights of this preset, I've made it so that culture will change more slowly. So provinces will be more resistant to having their culture changed. But at the same time, cultures that are a combination of previous cultures. So for example, the English culture can evolve if the Norman culture and the Anglo-Saxon culture come into contact, or the Italian culture evolves from the Lombard culture at a certain date. Things like that. I've turned it on so that those happen faster, because I really like those dynamic changes. I also have gender equality, which is one of the major rule changes in this game. You can choose to either have a quasi-historical game where women are only allowed to hold political position if the culture that you're playing as or the religion allows it, or if you have breakthroughs in technology that get you to a certain level where you can be that tolerant. But I actually have gender equality just set to 100% from the start. The game will play as if that technology and that tolerance level has been maxed out for everyone already, because I think it's more interesting to have women in power as well. Other than that, nothing particularly exciting in these rules. All of the historical type events are turned on, so there are great conquerors who can arise, such as the Seljuk Turks, the Mughal conquerors of India, and the Mongol Empire can invade. There's also a extremely non-historical event I have turned on, which is the Aztec invasion, which is part of a DLC they released, and it was actually one of the first DLC they made for this game. I'm not entirely sure why, but they made an unhistorical event where Aztecs from across the sea to the west can actually invade Europe centuries before Europe invaded the Aztecs. bringing disease with them, bringing tons and tons of troops. It basically devastates Europe if they're not prepared, and it's very interesting. So I have that turned on, but it won't happen until the year 1300 at the very earliest. I also have a setting turned on called exclave independence, which has to do with rulers holding territory that is distant from their usual land. I have this turned on to significant restrictions where exclaves, that is, provinces that are completely surrounded by other rulers' territory, have to be removed on succession unless they are connected via a naval path. You can sail directly there along the coast, or they're part of the de jure territory that we're supposed to be holding. I'm also going to turn on Iron Man mode, which is a mode for this game where you cannot, basically, you can't do anything over. All of your saves are overwritten, so it's one save only. You can't go back to your autosaves, but you're also allowed to get Steam achievements, which I would like to get, because there is a specific achievement associated with this clan where you reform the pagan religion to become more like an organized religion like Christianity or Islam. And if you make yourself the head of that religion, like the Pope or the Caliph, you get an achievement for that. So I want to achieve, no pun intended, I want to achieve that in this playthrough, among other things. So I'm going to go ahead and click Start Game here. And I need to come up with a title for this save. I'm going to say Ashina, Iron Man, 820. Not very creative. And we're loading. I don't know why it's thinking so hard. I guess while it's thinking, I'll also mention that I do have a few mods running. So the Iron Man mode does not let you play with any mods that significantly change, or really change at all, how the game mechanics function, but you can use visual mods as long as they sort of stay out of the way of the game mechanics. So I have a mod that improves portraits. I have a mod that improves music, so a lot of the music we'll be hearing is custom. I have mods that make some of the buttons more obvious and the font's better. I have a mod that improves the way that the emblems, the heraldry on different flags and such looks. And I have a mod that gives culturally appropriate names to the different titles, so that not everyone is just called King this or Duke this or Count that. So here's our opening screen. We have a big splash screen telling us about the game. Welcome to Crusader Kings 2. In Crusader Kings, you play as a succession of medieval rulers, from a single dynasty. There's no set goal, but the world is filled with ambitious rivals. Secure more land to increase your power and protect your family. However, you cannot hold infinite amounts of land yourself. To expand, you'll need to rely on vassal rulers. Keep them happy with titles and gifts, lest they decide to revolt. The game will end in 1452, if your line can stay in power that long. As a ruler, your first priority is to secure an heir. If you do not have a legitimate heir when your character dies, the game will end. Other pressing matters appear as alerts along the top of the screen. Crusader Kings is a pausable, real-time game. This means that you can issue commands both while the game is paused and while the clock is running. We have some stuff about commands. Crusader Kings 2 takes place on a fully 3D map. You can zoom in and out, pan, and reset the map by pressing backspace. So that's all good. Now we have a screen specifically tailored to our game. You are playing a Khazar Tengri Khagan. So the effects of the Khazar culture means that we can raid the rulers around us. This will be our primary way of making money, because nomads because they are not settled in a permanent place, do not really gain income through trade or anything like that. We have to raid the rich people around us. We are nomadic. Nomads are not very interested in owning holdings, only in more grazing land for their sheep and horses. Gameplay centers around the population of the tribe and the manpower it provides. Empty holding slots in open terrain increase our maximum population. While nomads can have normal vassals, they're mostly concerned with the other, few but powerful, major clans of the tribe. So, playing as a nomad, if you're familiar with this type of game, in usual gameplay, like when you're playing as a feudal type ruler or a tribal type ruler, what you want to hold is more individual holdings, which is the broad term that this game uses for anything like a castle or a city or a temple or anything like that. You want to hold as many of those as you can. As a nomad, you want to hold as few of those as you can. What you want is empty land. So you can actually hold only a single holding, which is your nomadic capital. You can build temples, but you can't hold them personally. Let's see. There's a bunch of other rules here about what nomads can do. One of the interesting features is that you can move your capital somewhere else in your realm every 2 years. I believe for most other rulers, that's every 10 years. So you can actually move around a lot more often than others. If you, as a nomad, conquer a province, take some land and find yourself holding a bunch of built-up settlements that you don't want, you can actually pillage them, basically destroy them to gain both money from pillaging it and the land that it sat on. And then we have our religion, which is Tengriism. This is the religion of the steppe peoples of Eurasia, especially Turkish and Mongol nomads. The chief god is Tengri, the creator god who rules the skies. Shamanism and animism also feature prominently. And there's a bunch of rules here about the religion, but I don't want to read all of those. So now that we're finally through all the opening screens, we have the open world map for us to look at. So this is a 3D map, such as you might find on a war table. We have borders outlined, showing us where the borders between different realms are. I've just turned on the political map, which gives each realm its own color, making it easier to see. We've very helpfully been centered on our home province, which, if I look here, is on the Caspian Sea. We are on the north edge of the Caspian Sea. Our province is called Itil, I-T-I-L. And we can see that we have a small army standing here. If my mouse scroll will work. This is the model here that's being used to represent the army is a little guy wearing a nicely embroidered gray jacket. He's sitting on a brown horse, and he has a small, sort of a wooden short bow in his hand, ready to go. It looks like he also has another bow on his back, although I can't rotate the map, nor can I rotate his model to see what's behind him. But he's standing on the horse. And the UI here tells us that that is a army of 750 troops, 450 light cavalry, and 300 special troops, which I believe for us means horse archers. We also have a little tiny icon of a tent, which I believe means that that's where our nomadic capital is. And we have a floating, hovering icon of our heraldry, which is, again, that black bear facing left on a yellow background. It is encircled in a metal sort of filigree, very decorative work. It is circular. It has a metal ring that goes around it with lots of fancy swirls and triangles. And it also has 2 metal carved horses looking out either side. So that's hovering over our capital here to indicate where we are based. If I zoom out a little bit, I can see that our color, which is a light sort of banana yellow, we have our capital here is sort of on the eastern end of our territory. We also have some to the north, to the border of a major river, which is the Volga River. And then across the Volga River to the west, we have some territory that goes in the thin line all the way over to the north side of the Black Sea in Crimea. Let's see. So there are 3 other clans around us that pay tribute to us. This is, I'm going to look, one of them is to our northeast. That's Kagan Taridin of Bashkiria. His realm is colored in white, and his capital is much farther to the north, nearly to Siberia. We have a tributary to our southeast, the Kagan of the Pechenegs. His capital is actually very close to ours, also on the Caspian Sea. And then to our south, sort of enclosed by our long strip of territory, is the Kagan of Alania, sort of sandwiched between us and the Byzantine Empire. So that's sort of our territory situation. I haven't unpaused the game yet because I really want to take stock of everything we've got here. We have a bunch of important notifications at the top of our screen. I see that 2 of them indicate that we are unmarried and our heir is unmarried. Since we are 53 years old, it is not really a priority for us to get married for the sake of having kids at this age. And I've opened our character page. We do have 2 children, one of whom is a daughter, 36 years old, and one of whom is a son, 35 years old. And because we have gender equality laws turned on, the daughter, who is older, is our current heir. So I'm going to look at her. Her name is Maria Ashina. Like I said, she's 36. She has straight black hair. Looks like it's in a braid down the right side of her face. She has a sort of stern face, thin eyebrows, dark eyes, and pursed thin lips. She had a husband, it looks like, who lived in Georgia, to our south, not Georgia, United States. She has a martial education. Every character in this game can have one of 5 educations as a young adult. She has a martial education, which means she focused on military things. She also has the organizer trait, which means that she is very organized at commanding troops, making them move 20% faster and retreat 10% faster. She has 4 personality traits, which are gained randomly or lost randomly throughout time. They sort of work like personality traits in The Sims, if you played The Sims 3 or The Sims 4. She has the trait arbitrary, temperate, brave, and kind. And each of these increase and modify her stats in certain ways. There are 5 stats that every character has. Diplomacy, which affects sort of how other rulers' opinions of you and how well you are at managing diplomatic affairs. Martial, which directly affects how you command armies. Stewardship, which affects your money, how well you gain money and how well you manage your realm. Intrigue, which affects any spying, sneaking, and defending yourself against spying. And learning, which has to do with religious matters and philosophy and technology and things like that. So our daughter Maria, with all of the stats from those bonuses combined, she has a 4 in diplomacy, which is very low for reference, the average for a stat is about 8. Really, the average you want for a ruler is 10 in each stat. She has a 14 in martial, which is pretty good. Most of that coming from her martial education. She has an 11 stewardship, pretty good, an 8 intrigue, average, and a 0 learning, which is, abysmal. Just looking at some other things about her. She's actually not of the Tengri religion. She is of the iconoclast religion, which is a heretic branch of Orthodoxy. This must be because she was married in Georgia. Actually, I see that her son, who she had by her Georgian husband and inherited that title from him, is also of that culture and religion. It's worth noting that her marriage to that Georgian ruler was not matrilineal, it was patrilineal. That means that any children they had, and it was only the one, inherited their father's dynastic line. They're considered part of his family tree instead of hers. Now, since she's not married anymore, what I can do is try and arrange a matrilineal marriage for her, so that any future children she has will be considered part of our line. When you're looking for a marriage, what you really want is somebody who has both good personality traits, but also, if possible, any good genetic traits, like intelligence is a genetic trait that can be passed on. Also, physical strength can be passed on, and things like that. On the flip side, there are also negative things, negative intelligence traits and negative physical traits that can be passed on genetically as well, so you want to be careful. I see that there is a man in my court named Chat. It's C with a cedilla underneath. C-A-T. I'm going to pronounce that Chat for now. He is one of our military commanders. He's 37 years old, which is 1 year older than she is. He has a learning-based education, but he's only 1 out of 4 stars at it, so he didn't really take to it very well. He is quick, which is a good genetic intelligence trait, which increases all of his stats by 3. He is also ambitious, which is a personality trait that increases all of his stats by another 2. He is zealous, so he's very religiously fervent in the Tengri religion. He is humble, and he is lustful. So I'm going to... So I've clicked the button to potentially arrange a marriage between them. Now I'm seeing here that if I go forward with this, because she is the heir of a Kagan, which is basically an emperor level title, and he is lowborn, he's more or less a nobody, she would lose 400 prestige points from going through with this marriage. I think that might be worth it, although I'll look at the other candidates again. Oh, you know what? No, that's the only option here. The other 4 candidates for marriage are all her cousins, one of whom is my direct grandson. That's really strange. The other of whom are more distant kinsmen, but still cousins, and that's... I don't want to risk inbreeding this early. I know it's historical, but there are some really bad things that can happen if you inbreed your family too much. So I'm going to go ahead and marry her to this commander, even though it will cost her and me 400 prestige. And because they're both members of my court, it happens instantaneously. I don't have to ask another ruler for agreement. I don't have to wait for messages to travel back and forth. They're getting married immediately. A message has come up that says, we can choose to collect a royal tax to pay for the ceremonies. I can choose to either receive 10 coins or 150 prestige. And I'm going to choose that prestige because we need it. We are personally now negative 200 prestige in the tank. And that will refresh soon enough once we unpause the game and get going, because we do have a very prestigious title and a lot of land. But we're in sort of a tricky situation. So now that we've looked at our daughter a bunch, I'm going to look at ourselves. We are, like I said before, we're 53 years old. We've got sort of a better look now here at that fur, you know, blue fabric and gray fur hat we're wearing. We are not married. So I'm gonna just check here and see if there are any eligible women we could marry who are not criminally younger than ourselves. I've checked the show potential spouses menu to only show me adults, which in this game is any woman over the age of 16. I see that there are some women in my court who are available, who are the daughters of the other khans, the other tribes that serve me. And that's an interesting idea. There are also women of other religions. There's even a few Christians on this list, a few Catholics who would be willing to marry me, which is kind of wild. There's women of other pagan religions. Yeah, that's it. No Muslims. I think Muslims are very strict in this game about not marrying outside the Muslim faiths. The woman that's looking the best to me right now is Sirma, the Princess of Bulgaria. She is the half-sister of the Prince of Bulgaria, which I think means the ruler of Bulgaria. Somehow she's related to the ruling family in Bulgaria, which is near us, and I want to be on good terms with them. She is 31 to my 53. That's a pretty big gap, but not as unreasonable as a 22-year gap would be at younger ages. So I'm going to go ahead and ask. Now, this time I do have to send a message to the person whose court she lives in this case, Prince Uturgar of Bulgaria. It looks like he is a duke. So I'm going to send a message to him and propose that I marry his half-sister. In this case, I would actually gain 36 prestige from marrying into their noble dynasty. So I'm going to send this message. It'll take a few days in-game for me to get a response. And I still haven't unpaused, because I still have things to deal with. The next thing I'm going to look at is my personal ambition. I get to choose from several ambitions available to me, the goals I want to pursue in my lifetime. What's available to me is the ambition to become exalted among men, to gain 5,000 prestige, to become a paragon of virtue, to gain 2,000 piety, to make a friend, to make a single friend, or to create a treasury, which is to have at least 3 artifacts in my possession. I think I'm gonna go for making a friend, because that seems the most achievable right now. Just a note of my own personal stats and education. I have an intrigue education, a spying education, at 3 out of 4 stars. I have the personality traits temperate, wroth, cruel, and zealous. So I'm a religious zealot who is very angry and very cruel, but also temperate, which I think mostly has to do with not overeating. So for a focus for my life, I can choose from 10 different focuses, two of which are associated with each stat. I'm going to choose the focus hunting, which gives me, while I'm focusing on it, a +2 martial stat and +1 health. And also will allow me to pursue random events related to hunting. I could choose war, but I'm not feeling like I want to expand right now. We're sitting on some pretty good territory. Next, I'm going to look at my council. Every ruler has 5 council members that assist them with managing the realm. Again, each of these 5 is tied to a different stat. So we have a chancellor who needs a high diplomacy, a marshal, M-A-R-S-H-A-L, who needs a high martial, M-A-R-T-I-A-L, skill. That's very confusing now that I say it out loud. We need a steward who needs high stewardship, a spy master needing high intrigue, and a diviner, which is the name specific to the Tengri religion, with a high learning. It looks like our 3 clan leaders have already been assigned spots in the council, which is good. If you don't assign your vassal rulers positions on the council, they'll be pretty mad at you. So Bukal, the Khan of Bukal, is our chancellor, the Khan of Yabgumak is our marshal, and the Khan of Kardaku is our steward. And all of them have pretty decent stats, 13, 13, and 8, respectively. Our spy master is just a random 16-year-old woman who happens to have a 10 in intrigue. So that's good. Good for her. Our diviner is our son. So he's our second child, not the heir. He has a 4-star learning education, which has given him a total of 18 learning skill, which is very good. He is also unmarried, so I should find him a spouse sometime soon. It looks like he also has a son of his own. So he must have had an affair or been married at some point, because he already has an 18-year-old son. We can also designate some minor positions within the court. These are not council members per se, but they serve important roles. So we can designate somebody in our court to be our designated regent. They will rule for us if we happen to be incapable of ruling or traveling. I'm going to designate one of our 3 clan leaders, the one with the highest sort of average stats. That's going to be Yabgumak. He has a 0, 13, 14, 6, 4 spread, which is some good, some bad. We need to assign a court physician who will treat anybody who becomes ill. Because medicine and religion sort of go hand in hand in this era, you also want somebody with a high learning skill. So that's going to be our son again. And I think that's it for minor titles and council titles for us. So we are ready, I think, to finally unpause the game. So it is the 1st of January, 769. I've unpaused at level 1, sort of the first speed, which is pretty slow. About 1 day is passing per second. And I'm gonna look around and see. Now, I've just gotten a notification that our heir has changed to our son instead of our daughter. And the reason this has happened, I've just realized, is because of the way that nomadic succession works. Your child, not necessarily your eldest child, but your child with the most prestige will inherit from you. And because we got our daughter married into a marriage that decreased her prestige, that must have pushed our son into the first position. So that's all right. We've gotten a message from the Duke in Bulgaria approving the marriage between me and his sister-in-law. Sister-in-law? Half-sister. I don't remember. Anyways, she's here now. Her name is Sirma of the Ukil house, U-K-I-L. She has a 3-star diplomacy education. She is gregarious, paranoid, cynical, and envious. Looking at the other clans here, they're all kind of mad at me for having a negative prestige score. That is giving a -40 opinion penalty. to each of the clans among us. They also, on top of that, each have a -20 penalty because I personally hold too many counties of grazing land. And there's a tooltip at the top here that says I need to give away one of the provinces of empty land that I hold to one of my vassal clans to keep them happy. So I'm going to look at that now. But before I manage that, I've gotten a message from the Khagan of Pechenegs, which is one of our tributary states. They are asking us to join them in a defensive war against our other tributary, Bashkiria, to the north. So I can't really refuse. If I refuse, I think I lose them as a tributary. So I'm going to go ahead and send my standing army of 750 over to them to meet their army and march with them. Anyways, I was going to look at the lands that I personally hold. So if I control-click on the map here, instead of giving all of our realm the same color, that same banana yellow that we're colored in, it's actually going to split the colors into different colors for each clan. So we have yellow for the territory that we hold, but then our other 3 clans have their own colors as well. So I see that the Yabgumak clan has the least land. They're all the way over in Crimea. The Bukhal clan has sort of a medium amount, and Karataku has some. So I'm going to give Karataku 1 county. I'm going to give one of my northern counties up towards the Volga River. I'm going to give them one of those territories. It will be across the river from their current land, but nearby. Oh, and the council doesn't want me to do this. Why not? Oh, unfortunately, all of the Khans are malcontent, as well as my spy master, probably for this very reason that I hold too much land. So I'm going to choose to give this county away anyway, even though my council disapproves. What this is going to do is give everyone in the realm a small opinion penalty against me for a while, because it's a tyrannical action. But hopefully it will get them off my case for a little while. Yeah, so that has removed the opinion penalty for the clans wanting more land, which is good. Unfortunately, they still are mad because my prestige is so low, which I will work on as soon as I can. Now that my son is my heir, we should get him married as well. So I'm going to, again, open the marriage candidate search, check only adults, and see who's available. This will be a similar list, actually, to the list I saw when I was searching for a wife for myself. Scrolling through here, there aren't actually a ton of women of our own religion that are available. I'm going to propose that he marry the daughter of one of the other clans, the daughter of the Karataku clan, who is 17. He is 35. That's kind of a gap, but it's really the best option I have. Over here in the northeast, my 750 men, I've assigned them some commanders, including my daughter and 2 other people in the court. We are marching to meet the army of our tributary as they're at war. I'm not even sure what they're at war about. I just know that I promised to support them. I've marched my army up here. I've joined them in the middle sort of at the end of a battle. And now that I've caught up with them, I am clicking a lock button that will basically tell this army to march with theirs wherever they go, so I don't have to keep controlling them. I have a message from my uncle, one of the Khans, who is proposing that his son and a random woman in my court get married. That sounds fine to me. They're now married. One of the ways I could get some prestige for myself would be to create minor titles. So right now I hold the Khaganate, which is sort of an emperor level title of Khazaria. I also have 7 individual provinces, which is my grazing land for my nomadic herds. But I don't have any intermediate titles, so I could create intermediate titles that are of a duchy size and give myself some prestige from holding those as well. Chaosbringer says in the chat, hey, I noticed you've been kind of summarizing the event messages. If there's more text to them, could you read what they actually say, at least the first time that message shows up? Yes, you're right. Thank you for the reminder. I've been reading the longer messages, but not the short ones. I'll be sure to read those as well. So I've gotten a notification here, a summary screen of a siege that my army has participated in. It was the siege of the county of Inderbor. Our tributary, again, is the person leading this war. And we see a summary that we gained 3.2 coins, or 3.2 gold from the siege. We lost 120 men out of the entire attacking army, only part of which was ours. And the defenders, there were only 9 defenders, and all of them survived. Just gonna drink some tea here for a moment. So I was talking about intermediate level titles. We can create a title that is a duchy. I don't know what the cultural title would be, but a duchy is a title that contains, by law, several adjacent provinces. The duchy that contains our capital, by law, contains 5 provinces, all of which we actually personally hold. So that would be a good title for us to have. Unfortunately, creating that title for ourselves requires money, which we don't quite have enough of. It requires 195.4 gold. That cost will go down over time the longer we hold the land. And we currently have 103 gold, which is only going up by 0.82 per month, which is not very fast. And again, the way that as a nomad we really raise any money is by raiding. So after we are done with this war that we're helping out with, we'll go do some raids. Some of the other messages along the top of the screen here that are a priority for us, one of which is that our council is discontent. That happened because we took that sort of tyrant-like action of handing out a county even though the council disapproved. That will go away in 7 months. We have a message that one of our vassals has a shaky line of inheritance. Oh, I see. Okay. So one of our vassal Khans, the Khan of Bukhal, remember I noticed earlier that he is our uncle? That is because his sister is our mother. So that's why he's our uncle but not part of our family line. His heir is our mother, which means that, if I understand right, if she inherits, then it next goes to her child, which would be me, and then my kids. which actually doesn't sound like a bad thing, but the game is warning me about it because it's unconventional, certainly. And there really aren't any other pressing matters for us to attend to. Looking over at this war, our tributary is the defender in this war. They're defending against our other tributary, so the ones who are defending are in the southeast, the ones who are attacking are in the northeast. The attackers wanted to conquer a single province, which happened to be an actually very important single province. It was the capital county. Since we have joined them in the defense, the war is 78% in their favor, which is quite good, so it might not take very long for them to successfully defend. Alright, here's a pop-up. As you pass by the treasury, you stumble upon Khan Menimurot. He is the Khan of the Yabgumak clan. You stumble upon him digging through the coffers. You must have been quiet, as he looks very surprised to see you. So this is where the missing gold has gone. Didn't know I had any missing gold, but now I do. So I have three options. I can let him go in exchange for a favor, which means he will owe me a favor that I can call in for council support or anything like that. I can imprison him immediately, or I can make him swear to never do it again, which basically is doing nothing. I'm gonna check my own personality here for a second, remembering that I am wroth, which is quick to anger, and cruel. I'm going to imprison the Khan. How dare he steal money from me? Now, of course, this is probably gonna not make him very happy. He now has a minus 100 opinion of me. He's been automatically removed from his council position because he's in prison. And being in prison, being in the dungeon as the game calls it, automatically comes with a minus 10 penalty to the character of diplomacy. They can't hold any diplomatic actions in the dungeon, and it also comes with a minus 1 penalty to health. Health usually ranges on a scale from about 3 to 5, 3 being pretty sickly and 5 being sort of a normal, hale and hearty. So whatever his health currently is, it's minus 1. Which means we now have a spot free on our council. He was our marshal, our military leader. So I can appoint somebody new, and I'm actually going to appoint my own daughter, because she has a very high marshal. She has 14 in it. I believe she may have been a commander previously, so this is actually sort of a promotion for her, which leaves a commander spot in our army free. So opening up our list of minor titles, I can see everyone in the court basically sorted by descending martial ability. And our top contender here is a man named Kegolag. He is 27, he is a giant, also cruel and wrathful, like ourselves. I'm going to appoint him a commander. We also need to appoint a new regent who will rule for us if we need to, because our previous regent was the man we just imprisoned. So that's not going to work out for him. Neither of the other Khans really are that great. One of them, their highest stat is a 13, everything else is below 8. And the other one, highest stat is a 10, everything else is below 7. Neither of which are very good. So I'm actually going to go down and appoint our... You know what? I'm going to appoint our daughter again. She's pretty great. She's now both our marshal and our designated regent. That will have the side effect for her for increasing her prestige, which will be going up. I'm checking on her page. It will now from the minus 400 where she started, it will be going up by plus 6.2 per month, which is pretty good. I also see that she has just announced she has become pregnant. So she'll start having kids. That's good. We have a message from our uncle, the Khan of Bukal. Dear nephew, may you live in harmony and contentment. We propose that Balgichi Bukal, his son, I assume, our cousin, and Savkelti, a random woman in our court, get married. Sounds fine to me. I've accepted his proposal, and she has left to live with them. We're now coming up on our first year of the game. I'll probably turn the speed up a little bit as we go further. It is now January 770. The war we've been part of has now just tipped over to 100% in the favor of the defender, so I'm going to detach our army from theirs and start walking back home. They will probably reach a peace settlement pretty soon. Yep. We have a notification here. The Bashkir conquest of the Emba steppe, that was the name of the province, has ended. Kagan Korkutan of Pechenegs, the defender, has won. We have another marriage offer from our uncle, another one of his sons, to another random woman in our court. I will accept this as well. Now that we are no longer at war, we can do a couple of things. First, I'm going to focus on increasing our army size a little bit. We have 1,125 manpower available to us, which are sort of available, healthy young adults in our population able to fight. I can choose from different army compositions I want to raise, some of which are more expensive. Some of them cost prestige to maintain, and some of them cost money. Hey, Super Blind Man, welcome! Hope your stream went well. We are playing the Ashina nomads of the western, I can't directions, steppe region near the Caspian Sea. I can indeed turn the sound up. I never quite know where to set it. Some of the music is very loud, and a lot of it is very soft. We've just gotten into our second year of gameplay. I've been playing at a pretty slow speed. We've just finished a war that we were helping one of our tributary clans defend against. Our armies are marching home. Yeah, the music is pretty ambient. Damien in the chat said, "There's music, I didn't hear it." Okay, now I do. So our armies are coming home from a successful defensive war. And we have a message saying that our marshal, who is our daughter, is letting us know that one of our commanders has improved. My marshal tells me that one of my commanders, Kundach, has improved significantly. Excellent. That is one of our cousins. Now that we are no longer at war, we have a message saying we have the ability to worship our ancestors. That is a decision we can take that will start an event where we can choose to give an offering, either a human sacrifice or a monetary sacrifice to our ancestors to please them and ask for a boon. So once our army comes home, I will start that decision. I'm actually going to go ahead and turn the speed up from 1 to 2. Now the days are passing at about 2 per second. And our army is approaching our home province of Itil. For those who weren't here earlier, The little unit model on the map for our army is a man in a gray woolen coat, it looks like, embroidered pretty intricately. He's holding a wooden bow in his left hand, and he's riding a dark brown horse. He also has a wool hat on his head, it looks like, with long ear flaps. This is definitely a cold weather outfit. So our army's home. It is time to worship the ancestors. You begin preparations for the sacrifice. You have decided to visit the shrine in the Holy Grove and make a sacrifice in the honor of your ancestors, hoping for their aid in return. What will you ask of your forefathers? I have two options here. I can choose to ask them to guide my sword in battle and let me conquer my enemies. Or, ancestors, share your wisdom with me. I'm going to choose guide my sword in battle. Again, my personality traits include wrath and cruelty. I'm going to ask for my sword. You asked your ancestors for military power and prowess in battle. Now it is time to present your offering. What will you give them in return? There are 4 options here in sort of decreasing amounts of effectiveness. I can offer them my own flesh, which will cause me to lose one of my eyes. I can offer them a soul, which is the only person in my dungeons, one of my cons. I can choose ancestors, may this feast please you, and offer them some money, or I can offer them a small idol, which is even less money. Orinx in the chat says, this game sounds playable for blind people with all the text, and Chaosbringer points out, it would be if the interface was accessible and if the map was adapted. Yeah, I was looking at a forum thread the other day, which is part of why I reached out to Super Blind Man before I started this series, and it looks like the text in the game is not accessible to screen readers, unfortunately. Neither is there any adaptive technology or mods out there that I can find to interpret the map, which is unfortunate. Damien asks, how useful is your prisoner? Do you use it for ransom or sacrifice? Yeah, because we are playing a pagan, sacrifice is a viable option with prisoners. You can also ransom prisoners if they or the person you're asking has the money. And our Khan that we have in prison does not appear to have the money it would take to ransom him. A ransom for somebody with that high of a title would be 250 gold. For reference, we currently have 106 rather, and he does not have that much, so he could not pay a suitable ransom. And because we are a cruel man, I am going to choose to offer him as a sacrifice. I don't know if I'm going to get any backlash from the rest of our realm for this. This seems like a pretty terrible action that I'm taking. We'll find out. You offer the ancestors the life of one of your prisoners, gain 60 piety, and Khan Minumerot of Yabgamak dies. I have a notification that his daughter has inherited the clan. 19-year-old daughter, Khanum Tura, has inherited the Yabgamak clan. The offering struggled violently when the shaman and her disciples pushed it down on the offering stone. The ancestors will surely be pleased with such a vigorous servant. Now all you can do is wait and hope. May the ancestors bestow their blessing upon me. Damien in the chat asks, is there karma in the game? In a sense. People in your realm will definitely have negative opinions of you if you do things that are tyrannical or unnecessarily cruel. There are special mechanics for if you cause or allow any member of your family to die, you can become known as a kinslayer with varying levels of severity depending on how closely they were related to you. Like, if I were to offer my child in sacrifice, I would be known as a kinslayer with some pretty severe opinion penalties. I won't be doing that. But it also has to do with the religion you're playing as. So we are playing as a pretty, I would say, aggressive, a pretty violent religion, or at least that's the stereotype. The Tengri steppe religion, paganism here, is one where we can offer human sacrifices, and as long as it's not somebody directly related to us, it's not that much of a problem. In fact, I think if it's somebody who is of a different religion, people might actually look kindly on us for it. Yes, necessary cruelty. Damien says, with this kind of religion, the keyword is necessary cruelty. Got it. There is also the word karma is in the game in a way. The piety score is called the karma score if you are a Buddhist. I think maybe some other Eastern religions as well use the word karma instead of piety. I don't seem to have incurred any specific negative modifiers here for killing one of my vassal khans, so this seems fine. I have a message here. Because I have the hunting focus, my lifestyle is going hunting, I have a message that my daughter Maria has sent me a gift. It's a small puppy, but of a fine pedigree and destined to grow into a great hunting dog. I can choose to accept this gracious gift, send it back, or pay somebody to dispose of it. I'm going to accept the dog because I love dogs. Even if I am a cruel man, that does not extend to animals. I am deciding. I will get the modifier hunting dog, which gives me +1 diplomacy and +1 health, which is a very valuable bonus. And then her follow-up question is, your new puppy has no name yet, my lord. What will you call it? There are 3 suggested names. Unfortunately, I don't get to write the name. I can choose between the names Faithful, Hunter, or Tricky. I'm going to name him Tricky. I guess him or her. They don't specify the sex of the dog. I'm going to look at the new young Khan in more detail. So this 19-year-old who has just inherited from her father is Khanum Tura. Deathstalker asks in the chat, does this game have any other sounds or is it just text? There is sounded music. There are minor sound effects for when you get a notification. There's sounds that play during battle, and so on. Not a ton of audio notifications. And again, if the music is still too low, I can turn it up again. So this young Khan Tura, she has a 4-star intrigue education, which is very good. And she has a bunch of personality traits. She is stubborn, she's charitable, arbitrary, kind, proud, wrathful, and greedy. That's quite a lot. Overall, that has given her a 11 in diplomacy, 11 in martial, 9 in stewardship, 8 in intrigue, and 0 in learning. For reference, again, the average stat is about 8 to 10. So she's pretty average all around. Yeah, I'll turn the music up again. And because she is one of my major vassals, and she is not currently on the council, she wants a position. So I'm going to look and see if I have a position I can give her, with the knowledge that her, well, all of her stats are about equally average. I'm going to choose to give her my Spy Master position. Because the person holding that position is currently... I mean, not nobody. She has her own personality. Her name is Sangul. She's 17. But because she is not of a noble family, nor does she have any titles, I can choose to fire her from my council without any terrible repercussions and hire my new Khan, Tura, instead. So she is now my spy master. I have a notification that my daughter has had a child. I have a granddaughter. A daughter was born to Chat, that's her husband's name, and Maria Ashina, named Gulai. Gulai Ashina, my granddaughter. The portraits of children in this game are much less interesting than those of adults. I'll go ahead and describe myself again. I am a 54-year-old man. I used to be wearing a gray fur hat. Now it seems I've upgraded to a metal fur-lined crown of some sort. You can't really see my hair, but I think it's gray and long in the back. I have narrow eyes. I look pretty stressed. I've got a lot of worry lines around my eyes. My daughter, because she is my military leader, you can't really see her face in her portrait. She's wearing a round metal helmet with a faceplate in a shiny sort of bronze metal, and she has a chainmail hood that reaches down from the helmet around the sides and back of her head. So all you can really see is her mouth. And my granddaughter has sort of a default child portrait showing, even though she's 0 years old, she is literally newborn. Her portrait is of a young, tan-skinned girl facing right with shoulder-length black hair and a green tunic. I think that is what she will look like until she becomes an adult. I have a message from my tributary to the northeast, the Khagan of Bashkiria. 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 He says, "To the heroic Khagan Bagatur, your wisdom and mercy are legendary. We request that you honor your obligation." Side note, as our tributary, they have to pay us some of their money, and in return we help them in wars. "We request that you honor your obligation and answer this call to arms against Khagan Kostas of Kipchak. We can decline without any penalty, but if we accept, we'll help them defend against a conquest. Because I'm not at war elsewhere at the moment, I'm going to go ahead and accept. So my army, which has been at home for a while, is going to go ahead and march to the northeast to meet up with them somewhere. Up to the northeast, meet up with them and help them with whatever they're up to. Super Blind Man says in the chat, "Now I'm here again. Had to switch to ye old laptop. Twitch Mobile is super dumb." That it is. Twitch Mobile is a barely functioning app, like most things. It looks like our prestige score is about to turn from negative back to positive, finally, after a year and a half. And one of the first things we did at the game was get our daughter, who is our first child. We have 2 children, a daughter and a son. Our daughter is the older one. We got her married, but the person she married was a commander in our court who didn't have a noble lineage himself. So taking that marriage cost her and us 400 prestige each, which is a hole that we have been slowly digging ourselves out of. We are now at -4, gaining 6.4 per month, so we'll be out of the red pretty soon. We have another childbirth notification. A son was born to Bulan, who is our son, and his wife Gulai, named Chorpan. That's C with a cedilla under it. Orpan. He also has the default child portrait, a tan-skinned young boy facing to the right with short, messy hair, 2 braids, long braids on the sides by his ears, and a green shirt. This one's a darker green than the female child portrait. Very exciting to have grandkids. I don't know which of our children will end up inheriting from us. Because of the way nomadic laws work, the child with the most prestige upon succession will inherit. Right now, that's currently our son, because our daughter is still digging herself out of that prestige hole we put her in with the marriage. I think the daughter actually has the better well, no, she's not better educated. She has a different set of stats than he does. So she has, her top traits are martial and stewardship at 14 and 11. His top traits are learning and stewardship at 18 and 12. Other than that, though, he actually has a 0 intrigue and a 1 in martial, which is very low. Her lowest, she does have a 0 learning. Her next lowest is a 4 diplomacy. So they're actually kind of balanced with regards to strengths and weaknesses. I might prioritize her because she has a higher martial, which is pretty important for nomads to be able to defend your land. It's very easy to start losing it bit by bit. You don't keep on your toes. Speaking of which, our army is now marching through our tributaries' territory towards the east. They are coming from the north. We're both going to converge on the contested territory, which is the province of Boktybay. Boqtybay. It looks like this might actually be an offensive war. This is not a defensive war. We are helping them conquer this province from their neighbors to the east, the Kipchak nomads. So we have our 750 cavalry, they have 500 cavalry. We're going up against an army of 500 cavalry. So we are quite outmatching with both of us allied together. We're outmatching our opponent. We have a notification here about our dog. Your dog is growing quickly and is no longer a little puppy. He runs fast and has a keen nose. He bites hard too, as several of the dog handlers can testify. And our reaction is, gain 10 prestige. We're out of the negatives! With that 10, we've been boosted up to 18 prestige. What a number. I can see that our ally here, our tributary, has gotten into a battle. Their 500 cavalry against the enemy 500. Our troops are still 3 provinces away, so we probably won't get there in time to help out. But we're on our way. It is now late October 770. We're coming up on our 2nd full year. We have a minor notification up here in the corner that our young vassal Tura, 19-year-old, has passed a law that any noble vassal, who is anybody who uses the feudal government, who serves her, has to pay more taxes. I don't know why she passed that, because that's completely irrelevant in this situation. She doesn't have any vassals at all. Not even nomadic ones. That's strange. My steward, the Khan of the Karataku clan, has approached me with a proposal. Khan Sartach approaches you. My liege, I have a great idea for a monument. Something to raise our cultural status and make the people notice what a great ruler you are. I would require some gold and your patience, and the work would take a year to complete. So if I do this, I pay him 15.5 gold, and he gets a plus 15 opinion of me, thanking me for letting him do this. Or I can say, I don't think so, And he gets a -5. Being disappointed. I'm not really saving up money for anything at the moment. I have 113, so I'm gonna go ahead and pay him. Yeah, take this 15.5 coins and see what you do with it. I know from past experience playing the game that this can go either well or poorly. So we'll find out what sort of monument he builds. It looks like our allies have won that battle. We are still a province away, catching up to them. They are heading further east, so we will head further east along with them. Their troop model looks like it's the same as ours, except palette swapped. Their horse... No, the horse is the same color, a dark brown. They're wearing the same gray coat, but the hood that they're wearing is blue instead of gray. I'm guessing that all of the troop models for this cultural region will probably be the same with palette swaps. I have a random event. A small kitty is demanding your attention. There's a picture, the illustration along with this message is of a small black and white tuxedo cat looking up at us from a cobblestone floor. I can choose to pet the kitty, gaining a 20% chance of gaining the trait Kind, which would actually directly conflict with our trait Wrath. We can allow the kitten to come home with us, or we can kick the cat. With a 25% chance of becoming one-eyed. Oh my gosh. That's a cat that can defend itself right there. Well, I'm not kind enough to pat the cat. But I'm not going to become a streamer who kicks cats, so I'm going to allow the cat to come home with us. I now have both a pet dog and a pet cat, each of which is giving us a +1 health, because we are so healthy, so mentally invigorated by having a cat. We are now almost caught up with our allied army to the east. They have reached the capital province of the clan they're attacking. When you are attacking a nomad, you can't really lay siege to anything because nomads don't really build settled... the only phrase I can think of is settled settlements, which is very, very redundant. The only thing you can lay siege to is their capital, which is always somewhere in their territory, and you can tell by their heraldry, which will be hovering above it. For ours, our heraldry is a black bear on a yellow background. It's facing to the left, it has its mouth open and its tongue sticking out. Theirs, the ones we are besieging right now, their heraldry is 2 white horses, one above the other, sort of stacked vertically, on a red background. So we were just in their capital province. We actually besieged their capital really fast. It happened while I was talking there. Our allies are now marching further to the east, besieging the capital of one of their minor clans. So we're gonna go along with them for that. We are now much further east into their territory than where the provinces that they were actually trying to conquer. So I'm not sure what our allies' goal is here, but since we are just we are a participant and not the aggressor in this war, we're gonna follow along. I'm actually, once I reach them here, once I catch up, I'm gonna click the button that will attach my army to theirs, so that it will automatically march and behave with theirs as they go. So I can stop giving orders. They'll just follow their commanders. I have a message from Kanamtura. She says, "My liege, blessings upon you and your house. We propose that..." Oh, I lost the message. Did she take it back? I think it was a marriage proposal about her brother. And it disappeared from my screen, so he must have found a different spouse. Well, good for him. Uh-oh. I have a message which is illustrated with a picture of a house on fire. And the message is, your two pets truly fight like cat and dog. You can barely sleep at night unless you lock them in separate rooms. In fear of confinement, your cat has begun hiding before bedtime. Yesterday, you spent the better part of an hour looking for it. You cannot stand this much longer. I can choose 3 options here. They will figure it out in due time. Just hope that the cat and dog get used to each other. Or I can give a new home. I can rehome my dog, or I can rehome my cat. Either one of those, I would give the pet that I'm removing, I would give them to my son. So that's actually not bad. I'm gonna give my son a pet. I think I have a intuition that the pets are not gonna get along if they are truly fighting like cat and dog. So I'm going to give the cat to my son. The cat is obviously unhappy. I will get it a new home. So the cat bonus, the health bonus will be removed from me and given to my son. He has a pet cat, yay! I have a notification here that we have successfully besieged the minor clan over in the east. The siege of Zhezdi, Z-H-E-Z-D-I. We lost no men and they lost no men. It's sort of the optimal outcome for a siege. The war is now 72% in our favor, just from taking those 2 tribes. We are now marching with our allies further east towards an army only 250 strong. For reference, our 2 armies combined, mine and my allies, is 500 plus 750, which is 1250, against 250, and they are quickly losing morale. This battle, I think we'll win in like seconds. Well, a few days game time. Super Blind Man says in the chat, son, I couldn't deal with this thing, you take it. Oh, fine, but I'm renaming it Chuckles like I wanted to in the first place. Ugh, it's your cat now, do whatever. Great, good, it's canon. The cat is named Chuckles. While I was talking about the cat, we did win that battle pretty decisively. We are now marching back west towards the province we originally meant to take. Because it's just nomadic land, we can't actually besiege the province they want. We could go stand in it, which would count as claiming it for ourselves, but if we ever stopped standing there, it would revert back to their control. Which is not a terribly effective way to win a war. It is now May 771. I'm going to go ahead and turn our speed up a little bit. We've been progressing at about 1 day per second. We're going to go up to 2 days per second. Start speeding along. Well, our army marched west a little bit. We're now sitting in their capital, which we already took, so I'm not sure why we're back. I'm just chilling. But here we are. Oh, now we're going west again. A small portion of the enemy army, which is probably all they have left at this point, looks like about 480 troops altogether, are sitting in the province that we were trying to take. But we're going to get there in time to intercept them and fight. Looking at our enemies, we have yet another palette swap of the same unit model on the map. The same gray embroidered coat. Same dark brown horse, the same small you know, wooden short bow. And for them, a red hood instead of a blue hood, instead of a gray hood. They're not terribly detailed unit models. They're, you know, not incredibly high resolution, but they do the trick. Especially since when you're looking at them, you're usually not zoomed in all the way to where they're taking up most of your screen. They're usually just small models walking around on the map. It looks like the person we're at war with must be also at war with somebody else, because before we got there, they fought a battle with somebody else, lost that, and they're now retreating to the east. So once again, we're marching east. We have a message from our uncle of the Bukal clan. He proposes that his son, our cousin, and a courtier, Sangul. Oh, this is the woman we fired as our spy master. Yeah, he proposes that they get married. Sure. She can go live with him instead of me. Then she won't be around to hate me for firing her. We also have a notification that we have gained a nickname, The Old. Bagatur Ashina, The Old. How old are we? We are 55. Which I guess is old enough to count as old for a ruler. We have another marriage proposal. This is from the Khagan of Bilar. This is not somebody related to us. This is somebody to our north, past our northeastern tributary. I know, right? I don't feel 55 at all. He is to our north, past our northeastern tributary. He holds 2 provinces. He's proposing that his son, I think that's his son, and another woman in our court get married. We have a lot of young unmarried women in our court. I don't know how this happened. They must have all spawned there at the beginning of the game. Okay, it's been a year since we gave money to our steward for a monument. The monument that Khan Sartach promised is finished. The statue is unveiled. And it's just a bigger version of Khan Sartach, only slightly better looking than the real Khan Sartach. So he didn't build a monument in honor of us, or of our realm, or of our prestige, or anything. He built a statue of himself. With that 15 coins we gave him. I can say, I don't know about this. I become disappointed in him, and he gains 200 prestige. So I can choose to let it slide. Side-eye him while he gains prestige. Or I can say, tear it down, he'll be put in his place. And we become bitter rivals. With my wrath and cruelty, I'm going to decide to tear it down and become his rival. Which might not go well for us. We'll find out. He is our steward, so hopefully he doesn't sabotage anything for us. While that was happening, we got a message that our army, marching with our allies in the east, fought a battle, won a battle. They're now marching again back west through the opponent's territory and sitting in their capital once again. They still have not actually made any effort to go... Okay, now they are. It's like they heard me talking about them. They're going to the west to actually go occupy the province that they've been trying to take in the first place. Uh-oh, I have a message. You double over in pain. You're suddenly beset by painful cramps. This sounds like I have a symptom of a disease coming on. I gain the trait cramps. This character is having cramps periodically, a very unpleasant experience and a dangerous ailment when it occurs at the wrong place and the wrong time. Health minus 0.5. Our physician, who is our son, Bulan, suggests you follow his instructions to combat the food poisoning you most likely suffer from. So he thinks our cramps are food poisoning. Sounds alright. That's a symptom I definitely associate with food poisoning. Very well, what treatment do you suggest? To draw the illness out of your body, Bulan covered you from head to toe in leeches. My response, I am not sure that did anything. No health benefit. Oh no. Well, hopefully our cramps aren't the sign of an actually serious illness. Because if they are, our sun doesn't seem to be helping much. Oh no. When you are not passing loose stool in the chamber pot, you're bent over at retching. You are suffering from food poisoning. So indeed, he was right about the diagnosis at least. Our cramps have been replaced with the trait food poisoning. And we have one of 4 options will happen randomly. We can suffer a normal severity illness, a mild illness, a severe illness, or a bedridden, deathly illness. Normal has a 60% chance, mild 18%, severe 14%, bedridden 9%. So majority of the time, it'll just be a normal illness. Yeah, so we have suffered a normal illness. Food poisoning. This character suffers from food poisoning, intense vomiting and diarrhea, very bad condition, but usually not very long lasting. -2 to every stat, -50% fertility, -3 health, -15 attraction. Now, of course, not very long for having a disease in this game. Could be multiple months, which is a wild amount of time to have food poisoning. We have a world message, the conversion of Serbia. The illustration here is of a bearded monk, it looks like, in brown long robes, white beard, white long hair, standing on the edge of a river, overseeing a mass baptism of a bunch of people. They're standing in the river up to their waists, and some other people are behind him on the shore looking out at the river. This message says, the conversion of Serbia. The tribes of Serbia have been converted to the Catholic faith. A group of priests sent by the König of Bavaria, that's the King of Bavaria, have performed a great ritual, during which they have converted the entire population of Serbia, alongside Kralja? Kralj, that's the Serbian title for a king, and many of his vassals. With this act, the people of Serbia have once and for all forsaken their old pagan gods. So Bavaria apparently was sending missionaries. Bavaria is in the area of Austria, I believe. Has been sending missionaries south to Serbia, and the Serbian king accepted and performed a mass baptism of himself and the rulers in his realm, converting them to the Catholic faith, as opposed to their Slavic pagan ways. Now, this may or may not stick. Mass conversions can be pretty rocky for pagan realms, depending on whether everyone liked you enough to go along with it. But it does give you big stability bonuses, allowing you to upgrade, most notably to feudal, government eventually, and basically more control, more stability. And because I'm pretty distant from Serbia, all I can say is, interesting, and dismiss the message. Alright. So now that we definitely have food poisoning, our son has come back with another potential treatment. Your court physician, Bulan Ashina, has come to see you and offers treatment for your illness. He explains that there are several different types of treatment he can offer. I can choose a risky treatment, my life is in your hands. I can choose a pretty standard treatment, as long as you know what you're doing. Or I can say, these treatments sound scary, and not be treated at all. That will give me the trait Craven, the icon of which is an ostrich sticking its head in the sand, which is a pretty bad trait, so I won't take that. I'll go with the well-tested treatment, as long as you know what you're doing. It warns me that the effectiveness will vary depending on his capabilities. Thankfully, our son is very well educated in the religious and learned ways. He has a 18 in learning, which is very, very high. I don't know if I've described his portrait yet. He is 38 years old. His face is hidden by the head covering he's wearing. It is a hood, a red embroidered hood pulled up over the top of his head, and it has a fringe that hangs down like long bangs. The fringe is in varying shades of gray and brown. That covers his eyes, but he can, with enough space that he can see through it probably. He has a black goatee. I think it's what it's called when you have a facial hair mustache down to your chin. It has a little bit hanging off his chin as well. Not quite enough that I would call a beard. And he's wearing a red cloak around his shoulders as well. Super Blind Man in the chat says he has to go. Thank you for coming. Thank you so much for your help and your advice. And thank you all for watching. Have a good night. So our son is treating us for this food poisoning. Bulan insisted that your humors were out of balance, and that the best way to restore them would be through bloodletting. After consulting the astronomical charts, he decided that you should be bled from your armpits and your temples. And my reaction is, I actually feel better. This treatment has given me back a +2 to each of my stats and +2 health. So it hasn't completely negated the effects of the illness, but it's done pretty well. Checking in on our war in the east again. Our ally, the AI, seems to have wised up to the fact that we have to actually stand in the province we want to claim if we want to tip the war in our favor. So he's sent half of his army, with ours attached, to go just stand in that province, which again is named Boktibai, to just stand there and hold it and convince the world that it's ours, while the other half of his army, 250 troops, basically roams around to the east, hunting down any remnants of the opposing army. We have a notification. Your violent vomiting and diarrhea have gone away. You have recovered from your food poisoning. Whew! I don't know how long in game time that was, but it certainly was much longer than any bout of food poisoning I want to experience. Our son has received a nickname, the Unchaste. He must be... Oh my gosh. What? What? Okay, so what I'm seeing here, when you're on a character's page, at the bottom of the screen, you can see in the user interface everyone that they're related to, separated into parents, grandparents, children, siblings, etc. If you go over to another tab, you can see other relations like their friends, rivals, and lovers. And I can see publicly displayed here that he is in a relationship, an out-of-marriage relationship, with his sister. What the heck? That's super incest. I don't know how that even happens. They both have the negative penalty, incestuous adulterer, -10 general opinion, which serves them right. That's gross. Holy cow. Oh wow, I've had a son. I must have missed the notification that my wife was pregnant. So I've had a third child, an infant named Bihar, B-I-H-A-R. And unfortunately, he has been born sickly. That is a -2.5 health in infancy, so I don't know if he'll live very long. My court physician, Bulan, is worried about my newborn son. Bihar is a feeble little thing even compared to other infants. Bulan says he might not live to see his first birthday. Bulan, you must attempt to save Bihar, and he will attempt to treat him. So hopefully that'll work out. It looks like the war that we were helping with finally got up to 100% in their favor, and they have declared peace. So our army is now once again free, and we're going to march all the way back west to our own territory. While little Bihar still appears slightly weaker than other children his age, I swear he's much more energetic than he was a couple of weeks ago. He might not be out of the woods quite yet, but the worst has passed. Thank you, Bulan, for giving my son a second chance. So we can see that Bihar has received a treatment giving him a +1 back to his health. That still gives him a net -1.5, I think. So he's still, you know, he's still sicklier than other kids, but better. And out of one war and into another. Alright, here's another message. To the Honorable Kagan Bagatur, blessings upon you and your house. We request that you honor your obligation and answer our call to arms against Amir Bakar of the Ukailid Imara. That sounds like a Muslim realm. This is an offensive war, it looks like. We would be helping them conquer a province from this Islamic ruler. And I guess since I have nothing better to do, I'll help out. Let's go see where this is. This is... Okay, so our previous war was to the east. This is going to be to the west, to the southwest. They are... Oh wow, it's an Islamic kingdom. A pretty strong realm they've declared war against. This is a kingdom that controls the area between the Black Sea and the Caspian Sea. That's about where Armenia is, Azerbaijan, that area of the world. So it'll take a while for our army to march all the way over there. But we will head that direction. Okay, this is a strange message. How I hate the infidels. Smash them, kill the scum, kick them in the teeth, wipe them off the face of the earth. Bastard infidels, I hate them, I hate them. Oh, did I say that out loud? Apparently this has come up because I have the zealous trait. Infidels in my realm are insulted. That's unfortunate. I don't know what opinion penalty that's actually given. Probably a -10 to -20. I don't know what characters in my realm have other religions. I know my daughter, because her first marriage was to somebody in Georgia, which is an Orthodox heresy, that she adopted that religion for herself. I don't know if there are any other characters of other religions in my court. Here's another random message. It started as an uneasiness around guests and strangers, then evolved into awkwardness and a strong feeling of discomfort. I have two options here, both of which could lead me to a new personality trait. I can say, I don't want to meet any new people, and have a 45% chance of becoming shy, or I'll just have to try to be more gregarious. 50% chance of becoming stressed, and a 45% chance of becoming gregarious. Now, gregarious, I often say, is probably one of the best traits to have as a ruler. It gives you a +2 to diplomacy, a +5 opinion to any vassal in your realm, a +5 opinion to anyone who is also gregarious, and a +5 opinion to anyone who's attracted to you. Basically anyone of the opposite sex in your age group, I think. Unfortunately, if I go for that, I might also become stressed. I have a larger chance of becoming stressed than I do of actually successfully becoming gregarious, but I'm gonna go for it. Ooh, I'm lucky tonight. I have gained gregarious, but not stressed. Very good. And a message right on the heels of that. Today at court, your hunting dog suddenly flew into a rage, tore loose, and attacked one of your courtiers. I can see in the corner of the window here that the person who will be affected is my daughter-in-law, my son's wife, Gulai. I can choose to call the dog to heel. That's H-E-E-L, as in what you command a dog. Or to kill. Yikes. If I say heal, 50% chance nothing happens. 30% chance she becomes wounded. 20% chance she dies. Their family will be upset if she dies. No wonder. If I say kill, 50% chance no effect, 30% chance wounded, 20% chance dies, gain 100 prestige. This is the same outcome. I guess, okay, the only difference is that the kill outcome gives me prestige and shocks the court. I don't know that I'm cruel enough to order my dog to kill my daughter-in-law. I want to say heal. And I haven't received a message that she died, so I must have hit that 50% chance of nothing happening. Which is very good. I'm relieved by that. Our army has finally made it back to our own territory, coming from the east. We're now marching through our territory from east to southwest to join up with our allies who are to our south. They are currently besieging the province they're hoping to take. Because they are attacking a ruler who is not nomadic, they actually have territory to lay siege to, instead of just capturing nomadic pastures. So they're laying siege to a tribe called Balanjar, which is on the western coast of the Caspian Sea. I have a granddaughter who was born out of the terrible incestuous relationship between my daughter and my son. Her name is Ilkai. Poor kid is sickly, as well as a bastard. I feel very bad for her. Very funny. Her grandparents listed in the character window are myself and myself. I don't know why that happened, because she does have 4 legitimate... Oh, no, you know what? She does not have 4 grandparents. She literally only has 1 grandparent. Because my 2 children sort of existed with me in the starting situation of the game, they technically don't have a mother listed in their family tree. So I am their only parent, and because they... Oh gosh, this is confusing. Because they are the parents of this child, I am this child's only grandparent, which is wild. I don't know if I've ever seen that happen. My son, Bulan, has become sick. Recently, I've noticed the pitiful state of my son, Bulan. I've just been informed that the cause of his aches and fatigue is a case of the flu. It looks like, yeah, he has the flu, but it's a mild case. And I will tell him, as my court physician, treat thyself. That's not what the message says, that's me. The message has a pretty standard, call for my court physician at once response. I have a message that my vassal Khan Tura, who is now 21 years old, has created the minor title of Crimea, because that is the area she controls. So that is a duchy level title, what would be held by a duke, and she has created that for herself. We should get on creating a duchy for ourselves at some point or another, once we have the money. It costs, I think, between 200 and 100 money to create a duchy. Okay, I have received a message from my uncle, Khan Simsam, allied with the rival that I made, my other Khan, who have allied together against me, and says, "You have shown yourself weak, and I speak for all the clans when I say it is time for you to hand over the bridle to someone more worthy." He wants to become the top Kagan of all of the clans. I can choose to surrender and submit myself. He would become the Kagan, and I would become one of his vassal Khans. Or I can choose to reject his feeble offer, not be blackmailed, which would probably lead to us going to war. Now, we are pretty much at our cap of military. We can't really... No, that's not right. We can raise a bunch more. We have 2.4 thousand troops we could raise. So, before I send him this letter back, I'm going to start raising some more troops. So we have troops we can spend piety on, troops we can spend money on, and troops we can spend prestige on. Each of which, all of the troops we have are cavalry in different configurations. Light cavalry, heavy cavalry, and horse archers. Heavy cavalry are the ones that cost gold. They are rarer units, more powerful units. Horse archers are also more powerful units. To get a troop that is predominantly composed of them, I either would have to spend piety or money. And using prestige, I can get troops, there are bundles of troops, sort of, that are mostly light cavalry with some archers. So I'm going to do that, the prestige option. I'm going to spend 75 prestige per troop to raise 2 troops, each of which has 200 light cavalry and 50 horse archers. They will start at half size, standing in my capital, and slowly accumulate over time. That has gotten me down to 50 prestige total that I can spend. I'm going to spend that last 50 on a slightly less balanced troop, 225 light cavalry, 25 archers. So those 3 units are now standing in my capital. I'm also going to spend 50 piety, maybe a few times, to buy a special unit comprised of 125 light cavalry, 125 horse archers. And I'm going to get 2 of those. So those altogether, 622. That should be 625 if it were exactly half. Out of the 1250 troops I just raised are standing in my capital. And they will slowly reinforce. Meanwhile, I'm going to immediately recall my army that I sent to the southwest. We have more pressing matters, including, well, not including, literally a potential war with 2 of our 3 vassal clans. So I am immediately recalling my troops. It'll take them a while to come back up here. I'm going to turn the speed back down so we don't miss anything. And yes. So our Khan Simsam has declared, install Simsam revolt against me, Kagan Bagatur the Old. So now all of the territory that belongs to him and to the vassal that he allied with has been highlighted in a different color because they are temporarily independent from me as we go to war. So we'll see how this turns out. These are the areas to my west. Not to my far west, Crimea. She is still loyal to me. Tura the 21-year-old, and I can call her into this war to help me defend. I can also call my tributary states into war. If I go to my military screen, I can see the likelihood of them accepting this call to arms. I can see that Tura will actually likely decline to bring her 1,000 troops to help me out. However, my tributaries with 500, 750, and 750, respectively, will probably accept. So I'm going to send out the call to all of them. I know that Tura will probably decline, but what can you do? My armies are on their way north. I also have 2 open spots on my council now because 2 of my counselors have revolted against me. I can choose to appoint a new chancellor and a new steward. So let's see, who has a high diplomatic skill? I can see that the top 2 diplomats in my court, looking at the list of options here, are actually 2 of my military commanders, and I don't want to pull them away from the field. So I'm going to go with my 3rd option, which is actually one of my cousins. He has a perfectly average diplomacy skill of 10. For my steward, looking at the options again, the top option is one of those commanders. The second option, another of my cousins. My court is filled with cousins. He only has a 7, but that's only a little lower than average. And I've received word that all 3 of my tributary states have accepted to join me in war. I'm going to select my army that's currently standing in my capital. I'm going to open the side menu that lets me give orders to my allies and order all 3 of the tributaries to come attach their armies to this army and move with me like I was moving with them. While this is happening, I've received another notification that Tura, now that she is separated from me by the revolt area, is thinking about declaring independence. She can't act on it yet because she only has 73% the military power that I have, and I think that will decrease as my army reinforces. But if she were to get over 80% strength, I believe she could try and declare independence from me, which is a little frightening. I don't want to lose all 3 of my clans in one go. My army that had been in the south is now crossing the river Volga, coming back to my capital to meet up with the army I just raised. That army is up to 875 out of 1250. And I don't see movement from the revolt yet on my western border. I think they are probably still collecting their armies, like I am collecting mine. But, okay, now my armies have gathered together. So I'm going to merge them into the same army. There are 3 flanks, each of which has about the same number of troops. It will be 2,000 altogether once they all reinforce. The center flank currently has 450. The side flanks each have about 650. And they have automatically assigned my military commanders, some of my military commanders to each flank. The center flank is being led by my mother, Parsbit, the Empress Dowager. That's a title that hasn't been culturally localized. The right is being led by Kaigalug, and the left is being led by Kundach, neither of whom I'm particularly familiar with. I'm getting a bunch of Chrome notifications. I should turn that off. looking to the northeast, my tributary state with 750 men is on his way southwest to meet me, but he's pretty far away, so I'm going to go ahead and march without him. One of my tributaries did make it to me and has attached their army to mine, like I instructed. The third, I believe, is the tributary who's currently at war against the Islamic kingdom to our south, and they're probably too busy to come help. Deathstalker says, think I'm gonna go for tonight. It was fun. Thank you, and thank you for saying my descriptions aren't bad. That is good to hear for a first attempt. I will continue to improve. Hope you have a good night. So, I have my army, which is approaching 2,000 full strength. Attached is one of my tributaries with 750. And we are going to go ahead and march towards the west, towards our revolting vassals. I can see that their army is close enough to mine that I can see where they're moving. They are in the northern part of their territory, heading further north. I'm not quite sure why. I'm going to not chase them down at the moment. I'm actually going to go straight for one of their capitals and try and immediately take the land there. It's going to take us a while to get over there, so I'm going to turn our speed back up for a little bit. We are reinforced up to full strength. We gathered a few more men along our way to the west. And I see that we're approaching their border, so we're crossing into their territory. And we can see that another army of theirs, probably, I'm going to guess there was one army for one of the clans and one army for the other one. So one of them, an army about 675 strong, is visible to us now. They're marching sort of parallel to us, a little bit south of us, marching also towards the west. I got a notification just now that our mother has died. She was one of our commanders and our advisor in our council. So we'll need to select somebody else to lead our troops from the center. I'm going to choose my son-in-law, Chat. So he's now in the center of our army. And as an advisor, I could really pick anyone. I'm going to go ahead with the first option suggested to me, which is my kinsman Kundach, who's one of our commanders. Appointing him an advisor will not actually do much, but it'll give him a say on the council. We also need to appoint a new commander because we promoted somebody. No, because our mother died, that's right. We need to appoint a new commander, and I'm going to appoint Tura, our remaining clan leader. She's not that great of a soldier. She only has an 8 martial, but appointing her a commander will give her an opinion boost towards us. And I don't really want her thinking about rebelling. So she can enjoy the title of commander without much of the responsibility. So I've made it into our rebel territory. I'm sitting south of the River Don, which flows into the Crimea region north of the Black Sea. Across the river, in their capital, is sitting one of the rebel armies. Now, if I attack them directly across this river, I'm going to get a pretty hefty penalty to the battle for attacking across a river. So instead, of attacking them directly, what I'm going to do is march to the north, around them, sort of to their east, around them, come all the way around them to their north, and then attack them from there. So I'm currently sitting to their southeast. I'm going to march all the way around through 2 provinces to their north, and then attack them from that direction. I don't know if they're going to move during that time, but that's my plan. The other army... the other army has marched to my capital with 994 men and is besieging mine. I have 225 defenders. They'll hold out for a little while, maybe a month or 2, but not forever. My army over here in their territory was on their way around. They made it about halfway, but I see that the other army is now moving. They are marching eastward, probably with the hopes of catching up to their allies, heading towards my territory. So I'm going to change my plans, march east parallel to them, and try and intercept them on the way. And noticing me, probably, they have stopped their plan. So I'm going to stop my plan as well. This is a little bit of a cat and mouse chase over here. None of us are getting anything done. I'm gonna go back to trying the come to their north and attack them plan. My allies from the far northeast have actually finally made it down here and are marching to meet me as well. Unfortunately, just now our capital in Itil has fallen to the siege that they were laying siege to it, so the war has tipped 42% in their favor to overthrow me. However, I'm about to fight this battle, which will leave me standing in their capital. And this battle, we vastly outnumbered them. With both of our allies, we had 3,500 men total. They had 750, I believe. And the battle was over in a matter of seconds. Like, it was too fast for me to even describe what happened. Their flanks are all now retreating. All 3 flanks are retreating. Ours are in pursuit. And I will soon see the summary. Let's see. Yeah, we lost 7 troops total. They lost 403 of their 750. That's devastating. That has tipped the balance back towards us a little bit, but so that gave us 21%. Their occupation gave them 42%, so it's still 21% in their favor until we besiege this capital. And ideally, sometime in the future, take back our own. One of my vassal allies has decided to leave me behind and march away. Bye. Bye, friends. I don't know where they're going. They're on their way somewhere. Maybe they're involved in another war and need to go fight somewhere else. Our siege of their capital has been completed. Victory, no losses from us, no losses from them. A nice non-violent takeover. That has shifted the war 42% total in our favor, so that was quite a significant occupation for us. We're now marching south towards Crimea to take their other, the capital of the other Khan. We have a message here that our, oh my gosh, our great-grandson, so our son, who is 40, had a oldest son who was now 23, who now has a son of his own, Obadiah Ashina, who is 6 years old and ready to be educated. We're going to choose a childhood focus for him because he is in our direct line. If our son remains our heir, then this is our oldest son's oldest son's oldest son. So I will give him an education in pride, as he is probably in line for this title, although a while away. We now have successfully besieged the other capital holding as well. This siege was a little rougher on us. We lost 132 troops during the siege. They didn't lose any, but we did successfully take it. So now we need to go intercept their troops and or take our capital back. I see that... Oh, okay. I zoomed out to look at the map, and I received a notification about a peace offer. Our uncle, who is the leader of the revolt, says, "Dear nephew, may you live in harmony and contentment. We surrender under these terms." So they have just decided to go ahead and surrender, even though the war was not really that decisive for us. But they must have realized that they should just cut their losses. We had too many allies and would eventually win. He loses 200 prestige from this surrender. He is imprisoned by us, and we gain 30 prestige from the war. So I accept your surrender. He is immediately imprisoned. He is still the Khan of his clan, and we have reunited. Both clans are now under us, and we have the option to imprison the other traitorous Khan, who is still our rival. However, going and looking at the option to imprison him, the council does not agree. So we won't do that. But he is still mad. Still our rival, still very mad. Because when he revolted, he was automatically fired from the council. He's also doubly mad, triply mad. He's our rival, which is automatically a -100 opinion, basically guaranteeing you'll be in the negative. He's mad that he was fired, which is a pretty recent sting. He's mad in general because he wants to be on the council. And he's still mad about our tyrannical action from several years ago, giving out a county without the council's approval. So he's not our biggest fan. Now his clan in general, personal opinion and clan-wide opinion are two separate measures, and his clan actually has a +7 opinion towards us in total, while the other two clans both have a -10, which is strange. Oh, okay. We just spent a bunch of prestige, actually all of our prestige recently, on hiring troops. So our prestige is currently at 103, and because it's that low relatively, the other clans are upset at us. Oh my gosh, can I not go like 2 months in the game without a request to join a war? Our tributary to the northeast has asked us to join in an offensive war. I think I'm actually going to decline this one. There's no penalty for me to decline joining a war that is offensive in nature. You know, if they overextend, they overextend. I'm going to decline that. No penalty. We are still technically part of the war to the south against the Islamic kingdom. That's currently at an 89% chance, or not a chance really, it's not random. It's an 89%. I can't express the words. It's 89% in our tributaries' favor, basically. This war that they've declared. Because looking at it, they have besieged the province that they wanted and a neighboring one, and are currently even deeper into the enemy territory, still besieging territory. So they are gaining score, and it is monthly going up because they still hold the province they wanted. If you are fighting a territory war, the longer you control the territory that's being contested, the more the scales of the war will slowly tip ever farther in your favor. As possession, as they say, is 9/10 of the law. It's now 96% in their favor. Your hunting dog needs proper training if he's to perform well during hunts. Perhaps you should take a hand in this yourself. I can say, yes, I will train him personally, or no, I have people for that. I'm going to train my dog. I haven't actually gone hunting yet. I don't know when I'll get the events to do that. There is an event chain that triggers sometimes if you take the hunting focus, but I haven't seen it yet. So maybe someday. Looking in the south, I can see our allies' troop movements even though we're not there. It looks like the kingdom that they're attacking must have been at war somewhere else, because their army just finally showed up with 8,300 men compared to our allies' 1,500. They're now probably being crushed in battle. I can see a battle. The game is currently paused because I have a notification pop up elsewhere. But 8,300 against 1,500 is not great odds, no matter how good your troops are. I have another son to me and my wife. I keep missing the notifications that she's with child. This son is named Chorpan. C with a cedilla, O-R-P-A-N. And he's been born with a quick intellect. This character is brighter than most, +3 to every stat. This is a good kid. I don't know how I can tell, but immediately after birth, I can already tell he's going to be a smart one. I have a message from my marshal. One of my commanders, Kaigalag, has improved significantly. When a commander improves in this way, they randomly gain either 1, 2, or 3 marshal points. I gain 5 prestige, and they can gain a commander trait. In this case, Kaigalag has gained the trait Aggressive Leader, which gives him more damage in combat, but less defense. Looking to the south, my allies have definitively lost the battle against the 8,300 strong army. The enemy is now marching northward toward the contested territory. I assume hoping to take it back. The war is still 92% tipped in the attacker's favor just because they've held that territory for so long. But it can't actually tip all the way to 100% unless they also win a battle, which they may or may not be able to do here. So we'll see. It might start tipping back toward the defender. I'm going to check on my title creation situation, because I've held the land around my capital for long enough that the cost of creating the duchy title has probably gone down some. Looking at the summary for that title, I see it is called the Duchy of Itil. That is the name of my capital. To create the duchy, it's gone down from about 196 gold, I think is what it was. It's gone down to 178.8. It's going down very slowly. I currently have 166. It's going up by 1.47. I don't know what happened to make me get this much richer, but I appreciate it. So probably within a year or two I'll be able to create this duchy, which will give me some prestige. I have a message here. I can't stop thinking of all those prisoners in my dungeon. No, there's only one. It's just the Rebel Khan. They're at my complete mercy. What a thrill it would be to hurt them, to hear the sweet screams, to see the panic in their eyes. I have two options. Resist my foul impulses, gain 10 piety, or tell my guards to oil up the rack, lose 10 piety, and one of four things will happen to my prisoner. 30% chance make him suffer. I don't know what that does. 30% chance he is wounded, 30% chance he is maimed for life, or 10% chance he outright dies. Unfortunately, I still am a cruel man, so I'm gonna see what happens if I torture my prisoner. I have been very cruel this game. I am not usually this cruel of a player. I've sacrificed one of my cons, and now I'm torturing the other. I promise, I'm usually very nice. He has become maimed. He has become one-handed and severely injured. The portrait of him depicting the severe injury actually displays him with a head wound because the arms are not visible in the portraits. While we've been focused on this, back in the south, the defender, the Muslim kingdom, must have won another battle because the score is now down to 46% in our favor. They are also in the contested territory, working on taking it back. And the ruler that we had imprisoned, Khan Simsam, has died of his severe injury, combined probably with being 58 years old and in the dungeon. And depressed. Poor guy. So he is died, and the land has been inherited by his son, Khan Kaigalak, our cousin, because that was our uncle. So Khan Kaigalak, has a 1-star stewardship education, a poor education. He is honest, temperate, shy, envious, chaste, and greedy, and he doesn't like us very much. Because he is now one of our cons and wants a seat on the council. Unfortunately, all of his stats are bad. He has 7, 7, 6, 4, 7, all below average. But I should give him a seat on council. Excuse me. I'm gonna look at who I have. I can either give him one of my 5 major council positions, or I can give him an advisor position. Now, okay, so one of my vassals is Tura. She is now 24, and she has been my spy master, and she's fine with us. The second vassal is our rival, Sartach. He hates us, for reasons I've described before. We have not given him back a council seat after his rebellion. And we have Kaigalag, who is just inherited and wants something, and I probably should give him something. I have no reason to particularly dislike him, except for the fact that I disliked his dad. So his best, if you can call them best, at 7 are diplomacy and martial. So I think I'm going to make him my chancellor. That's the diplomacy position. The current chancellor is one of my distant cousins, Kibar, and if I fire him, it won't go. I mean, it won't be the worst. So I'm going to give Kaigalak the chancellor position. And that has transformed his opinion of me from like minus 40 something up to a +8. So that's good. In the past months, you've been spending a lot of time outside training your trusty hunting dog. You find that the combination of daily physical exercise and fresh air are doing wonders for your health and constitution. Ooh, I've gained the trait Diligent. That's a +1 to every stat. And a +5 opinion from my vassals. That's a very good one. Hey, Starlock, thanks for sticking around. I'll probably be finishing up here before too long. It's funny, we've had this hunting focus since the start of the game. It's now 775, we started in 769. That's 6 years. And we've never gone hunting yet, but we have a nice dog. I love our dog. I have a message here in the corner. The conquest that our tributary to the south was taking part in, that was the war against the Islamic kingdom, has ended because the Casus Belli is no longer valid, which means something changed in the defenders realm, which made it impossible for them to keep going to war. And I see what happened, I think. The minor ruler that controlled that territory, who is a Miaphysite Christian duke, became independent from the Islamic realm. So the war was not actually against the Islamic kingdom anymore, and therefore was not valid. So interesting. They were actually definitively losing by that point. So maybe it's good for them that the war was abruptly stopped by legal matters. Okay, now I see the notification. My wife is pregnant again. Excellent. In my old age, approaching 60 years old, I'm still having some kids. That's very nice. I should mention, I'm looking at my character page right now. There is a Wikipedia link button. This is a historical figure, although a pretty minor one. We could go visit his Wikipedia page, although I don't think it would display on stream. But he is somebody pulled from the historical record, as is my son. Not my daughter. Yeah, so just me and my son are historical figures. And my father. And his father. And his father. Only there. Okay. So there's some historical record somewhere that has a few men in the male line recorded. That's cool. My tributary to the south, the same person whose war was just ended inconclusively, is now asking me to join them in another offensive war. They are declaring a holy war. Oh my gosh, he's Sunni Muslim. How did I not notice that? Okay, he's not pagan, he's Muslim. And he has declared a holy war for Albania. Where's that? I'm gonna turn on the duchies map mode for a minute here to look where Albania is. Okay, I see. So it's the same area that he was just at war for, except it's now being held by this duke. And this duke is Christian, Miaphysite Christian. So he's declaring that as a holy war rather than a conquest. I don't know why I just clicked accept. I meant to click decline. There would have been no penalty. But I guess I'm gonna accept his call and go join. I don't have really any investment in this war, but I guess I'll help. Since I'm really not doing anything else with my troops. I'm now up to 178 money. I think that's enough for me to create a duchy title. It is. It now costs 177 gold, so I'll be left with exactly 1 money. $1. Creating this title will give me 200 prestige and cost me 177 gold. Worth it, though, because having this title will give me a certain amount of passive monthly prestige. Holding a duchy, for every duchy you hold, you get 0.2 monthly prestige. So it's generally good to hold as many titles at as many levels as you can. Oh, is this? Oh, this is not an offensive war. This is a defensive war. I completely misunderstood. Okay. This is... Oh, I deeply misunderstood what kind of war this was. I'm going to pause for a moment. This is a defensive war against my daughter's first son by the Georgian husband she had, who is now the Duke of Abkhazia, which is roughly the area of the Kingdom of Georgia. He has declared a holy war against my tributary for 2 provinces, one of which is on the western edge of the Caspian Sea, and one of which is inland from that one. He is Orthodox, a heretic Orthodox iconoclast, so we are helping defend. And currently we are standing in the mountains, about to be... No, we're not about to be attacked, but a battle is about to take place in the same place that we are between our ally and somebody else who they must be at war with simultaneously. So I'm going to just walk away from this battle and hopefully not get caught up in it. I'm going to march back to the north. Yeah, I did not, in fact, get caught up in it. I have 2 marriage offers at the top of my screen. Both for the same girl in my court, Khatun, 16 years old. One of them is to marry a Khan, and one of them is to marry the heir to a Khanate. One is 28, one is 33. I'll let her marry the 28-year-old. That was the Khan. I have no stake in these things. Let's see. Wali Jibril, a preacher in the service of Amir al-Umara Bakar, a Islamic baron who serves the king, the Islamic king to our south, has arrived in our capital, in Itil, to spread the gospel of their foreign religion. He has little regard for our old faith, declaring it sinful, and has explained in detail the horrors we shall suffer in the afterlife, unless we mend our ways. I can choose to either throw him in our dungeons, or allow him to preach. I'm going to throw him in our dungeons. We have a religion, and we're fine with it. I am marching my army inland from the Caspian Sea to a province that has already been taken by the attacker. I'm going to try and retake it. Unfortunately, that looks like I'm going to get in a battle with them, since they are on their way towards me at the same time. So we are technically the attacker in this battle. We marched into the province right after they arrived. They are the defenders. They have nobody commanding their left flank, which hopefully means it'll go down pretty fast. It's actually their right flank which is collapsing first. This is maybe the first evenly matched battle we've seen in this game. It's actually progressing over a decent amount of time. So their right flank collapsed all the way and is fleeing. Their left flank went down next, now they're middle. We are pursuing all three of their flanks in full retreat. The unit, by the way, for their army on the map is a foot soldier, not a horseman. Their army was comprised of mainly light and heavy infantry with a few cavalry. So definitely a different army composition than ours. They have a soldier mostly in red, a red tunic and red boots, with a scale mail shirt over top, it looks like. Scale mail tunic. He has a sword belt looped around his right shoulder. I believe that's what that is. And a large red shield, round shield in his left hand. And a sword in his right hand. Oh, Orinx asks about the battle. You're right, I didn't explain how battles take place. You really just watch it happen. Based on your army composition and the commanders you've assigned, the AI will make choices about what tactics to take during the battle. It's a very complicated system, which I think you can influence if you really dive deep into how the tactics work. I have never understood it. I usually just put the army together and slap some commanders on it and let it go. The general concept is that you have 3 flanks per army, center, left, and right. They oppose the other armies center, left, and right. And depending on the relative strengths, they'll slowly run out of men or run out of morale, one or the other. Usually morale goes down first and they retreat. Next time we get in a battle, I can try and run it more slowly to describe more thoroughly what happens. But usually they're over in a matter of days, which is seconds in the game. So we're now standing in this province. We won the battle. They retreated. They are marching back to the south. And we are retaking a fort that they built here, because this was a nomadic grazing land. We are besieging the fort that they built to take it. And we have a daughter. I don't think all of the previous kids we've had have been sons, since this marriage. So this is Chichepi. C. Cedilla E. C. Cedilla E. P. P. I. And unfortunately, she has been born sickly. Well, hopefully she'll be able to be treated by our physician son. Yeah, so we have the sickly infant message again. My court physician, Bulan, is worried about my newborn daughter. Chichepi is a feeble little thing even compared to other infants. Bulan says she might not live to see her first birthday. Bulan, you must attempt to save Chichepi. And hopefully she will receive a good treatment. It's always heartbreaking to have a child sickly in infancy. I have a lot of minor messages that have been piling up in the top right corner. I'm gonna look through these real quick. Tura, our Khan, has approved another tax law for nobles. Again, she has no noble vassals, so I don't know why she's passing these laws. Our rival Khan has imprisoned 2 people. He must be at war. There's a notification reminding us that we have imprisoned the Muslim preacher. There's a notification that we have been attacked, just in case we were somewhere else in the world when that battle happened. We have a notification that our holding is under siege. Now, that's a county we don't even... I don't know why we've got that message. That's for the county of Balanjar, which does not belong to us. I don't know why we got that message. And our cousin, Khan Kaigalag, has improved a law about church taxes. Again, I don't know if he controls any churches or temples. And a notification that we created a duchy title. Okay, most of that, fine. We have successfully besieged the fort in this county and taken it back with no losses, so that's good. I am going to march us south into our enemy territory. This is up into the hills. This is a very mountainous, rugged area between the Caspian Sea and the Black Sea. And finally, we have a message about the treatment of baby Chichepi. While little Chichepi still appears slightly weaker than other children her age, I swear she is much more energetic than she was a couple of weeks ago. She might not be out of the woods quite yet, but the worst has passed. And she has the +1 health treatment, a second chance. Alright, we're marching south into enemy territory. It's now hit midnight Eastern time, which means probably as soon as we resolve this war that we're at, one way or another, I will probably call the stream for tonight. Because this is a mountainous region, I've noticed that us sitting in this enemy territory has actually blocked the path for the opponent's army, who had to retreat further into their territory. Would actually have to march pretty far around us because we are sitting right in the mountain pass that they would have to go through to get to the territory they're trying to take. So I don't know where they're going to go. I have a notification that my rival Khan, my vassal, apparently was at war himself and has taken a province in the north from a tribal chief that used to hold it. So he has expanded his territory by 1 province. That's fine by me. Okay, we have a world message. The illustration on this is of a pretty dark scene, murky coloring, painted in sort of watercolors. It's of a preacher in a brown robe with his arms raised, standing in the middle of a crowd. It looks like he's speaking towards them. We can't really see any faces in the crowd. They're all in the shadow, and many of them are facing away from us. The message is titled, "The Rise of the Shia." The schism at the heart of Islam dates back to its earliest days. The majority Sunnis have long persecuted the followers of Ali, the Shias forcing them into hiding. The partisans of Ali look to his descendants for leadership, but they are forced to keep their ancestry secret. Now, though, the Shias are mobilizing their strength behind a boy who they claim to be Ali's rightful heir and imam. Other Islamic jurists claim that the boy is clearly a fraud, but to his followers, he is the person they've been waiting for, and now they flock to his banner. So we have the portrait here of the Shia leader who has arisen. Actually, no, this is the Sunni leader who is defending against the uprising of the Shia. This is in northern Africa, I see by the tooltip. And I'm going to try and go to the location here where this is. So this is the king of Ifriqiya in northern Africa. This is around Tunisia, northern Algeria is where this would be. And the king of this area, Umar of Ifriqiya, is defending against an uprising led by, well, the pretender is a boy, 3 years old, supposedly descended from Ali. He holds no land yet, but he is the pretender to the Shia caliphate. So we'll see. I don't know if we'll receive a message about how that turns out. But that's interesting to know. So back for us, our army is besieging the mountain pass into the enemy territory. Their army is sort of, looks like confusedly wandering around to our east and south, trying to figure out what to do because the mountain pass is blocked. To our north, our allied troops are fighting a different war, it looks like. There's an army besieging some of their territory, but who is not marked as an enemy to us, which means it must be part of a different war that we are not participants in. We have successfully besieged the county capital, a castle called Mtskheta, Mtskheta. In this province, we have now moved on to besieging the major city, Sioni, Sioni, and after that will be its church. The opposing army has finally decided to march around us to the east through a different mountain pass, taking the long way around to get back to the province they're trying to take. This war is currently tipped 38% in our favor. My plan at the moment is to keep standing here in this pass until we've taken all 3 of the settlements here, and then go back into the friendly territory to fight their army again. We still have 2,000 troops. We're still at full strength. They're down to 1,250. Oh, we have a message. Our hunting dog ran away and went roaming the castle. He was very aggressive, chasing several servants and sending them fleeing in terror. He then came upon the dog of one of your courtiers and attacked it and killed it. Unfortunate. And that courtier was our Tura. She has now received a -20 opinion penalty against me for a while, because apparently my dog killed her dog, which is very sad. It looks like we might not actually need to fight the opponent here because our allies are going to do it for us. They are marching 1,500 troops toward the 1,250 and are now at war. Well, not at war. We've been at war. They're now in battle. The animations for the little models on the field. The nomadic army, which is a guy on a horse, is slowly pulling a single arrow on his bow, drawing it back and firing it into the distance, not even at the other model. The foot soldier, representing the infantry army, was just swinging his sword repeatedly in the same animation at the front legs of the horse. My wife is pregnant again. She is 39 years old and still having kids regularly, which is good for her. I have a marriage offer between... Oh, I no longer have a marriage offer. They must have found somebody else in those 3 days. So our allies did win that battle. The score has now tipped up to 51%. We are still quietly besieging the towns in this mountain pass. The siege of the town. No, that was the siege of the temple. Went off, no losses from us. So we now occupy this entire province. We could move in further to their territory, but I'm not sure I want to go that far. Instead, I'm going to march back into friendly territory. It looks like they built a fort again while they were here briefly, before that battle they lost. So I'm going to go take that fort back. This time, instead of waiting for it to just lose morale naturally over months, I'm going to actually attempt to take it by storm. Because I have 2,000 men and there's only 100, defending this fort, I'm just gonna go for it, which will take it down in a couple of days, but incur some losses to me. 40 troops lost, but I've already taken down the fort. My son, now acting in his religious advisor capacity, has found an apostate. Diviner Bulan bursts into your tent, flanked by several warriors, dragging Ezra Ashina, my grandson, his own son, in chains. My Kagan, he says, there are many concerned peasants claiming that their children are plagued by nightmares of this man. He is obviously a warlock. What shall be done with him? We can choose to burn him at the stake, imprison him, brand him, or let him go free. Let's look at him. How valid are their claims? Well, he is cruel, gluttonous, lustful, slothful, and arbitrary, which is a pretty bad collection of traits. Not a very appealing person, but I don't know that that makes him a warlock. So I'm just gonna... Well, if I let him go free, my son, my diviner, will be outraged that I just ignored it. So I'm gonna let him brand Ezra as an apostate. I get a minus 100 opinion towards him because he's been accused, and he gets the trait branded apostate, minus 0.5 monthly piety, and minus 10 general opinion. Redegenerate asks, I wonder if horse armies move faster. I believe that they do. I am not 100% sure, but it makes sense, and I think that armies comprised entirely of cavalry, like ours, with no infantry at all, do move faster. You can also get commander bonuses to your leaders that allow them to move even faster. Oh, the war we were in once again has ended inconclusively with a invalid casus belli. This time it looks like it happened because the other war that they were at must have been for the same territory, and they surrendered to that one. So the two counties that were under dispute are now part of the duchy, the Miaphysite Christian realm, instead of theirs, which is unfortunate. They've lost a little territory. But we were not part of that war, so we couldn't do anything about it. And with that, it is late July 777. Let me get it to July 27th. Lucky number 277. Let's see. 727777. And we are going to call it here for the night. Thank you all for hanging out. Thank you for watching. Thank you for putting up with my beginner audio descriptions. Again, I really welcome any feedback, and thank you all for the patience. Thank you again to Super Blind Man, even though he's not here anymore, for giving me a bunch of tips. And I think that's it. I'm gonna save the game and have a good night.